What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are continuing our series where we talk about all 32 NFL teams, preview them for the 2024 season, talk about some fantasy projections, talk about roster moves, how the roster is looking now, schedule predictions, and everything. And today, we're talking about my favorite team, the Chicago Bears. The question for the Chicago Bears is, are they playoff bound? We have kind of reached the point where this should be the expectation. They have brought back Matt Eberflus. They have overhauled the offense, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But I think it's playoffs or bust this year. And we're going to talk through what we think their season will look like. 2023 season, though, first, 19th in points per game on both sides of the ball. The defense really came on strong down the stretch. Justin Fields missed some time in the middle of the year when he really had started to get a rhythm. But they made the decision. They traded Justin Fields to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They fired Luke Getsy. Correct move. Luke Getsy was a major problem. I think Justin Fields being traded was also the correct move. We'll talk about why here in a second. But they overhauled this offense. They brought in Keenan Allen. They brought in DeAndre Swift. What were your takeaways from the 2023 season of the Chicago Bears, Randy?
Disappointment for what you talked about. We're both Justin Fields fans, and to see him just get injured at the wrong time, and then we have to see Beijing out there for multiple games and finishing 7-10, missing the playoffs barely. You hate to wonder that if he's in there for two of those games, can you eke this out and you get to 9-8? Can you sneak in? Are we talking different if Justin Fields makes the playoffs is the issue here. But that's the past. That's the 2023 season. This team looks entirely different. The coaching staff is almost all different, it feels like. So at that point, we just got to cut the loss and move on. And, he did better than most people said he would. This team did better than most people said they would, besides, obviously, Bears fans last year. So,
yeah.
A few things that you wanted to do better. You got to beat the Packers. You just do.
I think that factored into it, right? That
Yep.
last week, the offensive line decided to have one of their worst weeks in a long time, coming off of some strong Justin Fields games, safe Justin Fields games, doing what he asked them to do. And then the Packers just blew their doors off. And when that happens, I think change is needed. I think that's a correct move, but that is in the past. I know Bears fans, feel free to fight about the Justin Fields, Caleb Williams debate. The debate's over. You can fight about it in the comments if you want, but unfortunately for Justin Fields, I actually think fortunately for Justin Fields, because I think he's in a better situation as well. I don't necessarily think the Bears did everything they could to set him up for success, but they have learned from that, and that's mostly because of what they've done this offseason and really in the year leading up, bringing in DJ Moore, but now adding DeAndre Swift, Keenan Allen, Gerald Everett to this offense. Also Ryan Bates, Coleman Shelton to beef up that offensive line, which struggled at times last year. Kevin Byard on the back end there. You lose Eddie Jackson, but you bring in Kevin Byard. I'm not huge on that move. I think Kevin Byard has been good, but I think he's certainly on the decline. Jonathan Owens, but then your draft class, Caleb Williams, Roma Dunze, Kieran Amegaji, and Torrey Taylor were your kind of key ads. Torrey Taylor making this list is funny until you hear what happened at OTAs, where he was just plunking the ball inside the 5 consistently. And all the beat reporters talked about how this is a punter. We've never seen a punter like this. This was a great pick. So, and then Amon, I'm not trying the last name, also a free agent ad, but some key linebacker depth, I think. They lost a ton. They kind of, like we talked about, they overhauled the offense. Cody Whitehair, Lucas Patrick are gone, thank God. Justin Fields, Nathan Peterman, Deontay Foreman, Darnell Mooney is gone. He's in Atlanta. We talked about him a little bit. They let Justin Jones go. I think they're going to get a comp pick back for that because of the compensation, which is kind of crazy. He was good at times last year. Yannick Ngakoue had a pretty rough up and down year. And then Eddie Jackson, kind of similar in that, like, he certainly had lost a step, and we kind of saw that last year. But what were your thoughts on the Bears' approach this year?
Yeah, I mean, they did the best they could. They let some of the, good players they had leave, and Justin Jones, Yannick Ngakoue at different times, Mooney different times. Even Foreman, you could say that, and obviously Fields.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Jackson definitely lost a step, was not worth what he was about to get paid. They get
Yep.
cheaper, they get better with Kevin Byard.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just for a season, better. Maybe he's where Eddie Jackson was next year, but that's fine because he still improved. And then you brought in Jonathan Owens as well to help that out and help out the slot. It's a complete 180, and they're whether this was talked about with Caleb before the draft or not, they put all the money and all the eggs in the offensive baskets to give him a good baseline. Obviously, some of the moves, Ryan Bates, Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, they're not long-term moves. They're very short-term, 2 years at best, probably for all of them. Same with Byard, but it's a good step in the right direction. Gives him a good building block, and Caleb should have a good year.
I think so as well. Let's look at the defense. So, or the
Well, that's the
offense
offense.
first. Yeah, that's my fault. That's the offense. Offensive line just significantly better. Between Ryan Bates and Coleman Shelton at center, I think you're rocking it out a lot better than you did with the combination of the two that we just talked about. Lucas Patrick and Cody Whitehair were just atrocious, just very, very bad. The main question is, can Darnell Wright take a step forward? Because he had good moments, but you can definitely pinpoint when he was rough. One game in particular, the Detroit game in Detroit, where they had an opportunity to go win the game, and it was a sack fumble because Darnell Wright just got blown by Aiden Hutchinson, which happens to a lot of players. And then the other question is, can Braxton Jones take a step forward? I think there were times where he was good, but Braxton Jones is one of those players that's going to be looking for a contract here soon. Is he worth paying? That's going to be a question that I think they need answered this year.
Yeah, and I think they kind of answered it. They were in talks. They're looking at all the top tackles, and they brought in Kieran DJ, and I think he is very clearly going to be the left tackle of the future. Braxton has a chance to cement his status, and Darnell Wright still has to do that. So Kieran can flip over there. I think we could figure out one going into guard. Obviously, Ryan Bates or Coleman Sheldon are going to be the starting center. And then I believe whoever's not is going to be starting right guard. And Nate Davis will be gone. He has not performed up to his contract at all. Tevin Jenkins has made him look insanely terrible. And and I don't even think Tevin has looked incredible. It's just that's how bad Nate Davis has been. And Shelton has played well at guard and at center. Bates, I think, could play both pretty well. So that's how this is going. One or the other. This offensive line will be better. It needed to be better. Because Caleb, while he does maneuver a lot, scrambling is not what he wants to do. He does not want to run for the first. He will, obviously, when he has to. But he is doing all the maneuvering to make a play. He's not doing it to run for 4 yards. And that's Fields was doing that because he had to, and it's one of his strengths, obviously. So they had to improve the offensive line, and then obviously we know they improved this receiving core and everything on this offense.
Yeah, that's I think you hit the nail on the head. Nate Davis had a lot of things going on last year, but the play when he was out there was terrible. He was very, very bad. I think you're right. I think maybe they keep him as like your backup guard because Tevin Jenkins has been in and out of the lineup as well. He can't seem to stay healthy. He's got back issues. So I'm curious as to see how this plays out. But this will play out in training camp, and I would not be shocked if you're right. Coleman Shelton's your starting center. Bates is your starting right guard. I think you're in better shape there. This wide receiver core might be the best in the NFL. I think you can make an argument that DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and if Roman Dunze is as pro ready as we think he is, I think it's tough to find a better wide receiving core. Add in now the depth behind that, maybe not so much. Tyler Scott had times. Tyler Scott can get open very well, but he's your fourth wide receiver that's providing a deep threat. We've seen in OTAs, Velus Jones has done some of that as well, instead of being this like short yardage type of guy that's taking handoffs from the backfield. I don't necessarily think that Velus is going to be used like that anymore. And then Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett is one of the better tight end duos in the NFL as well, because now you can use Cole Kmet as a natural tight end, have Gerald Everett be that move piece that can kind of go in and catch some passes. This supporting cast around Caleb is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, and then you have three very talented running backs. Swift played really well behind one of the best offensive lines, if not the best in football. So you can expect a bit of a downtick there. And then Herbert has played well at times. Roschon Johnson had some flashes as a rookie. Obviously, I think they didn't get enough from that room to feel comfortable, so they brought in Swift with the opportunity. But that running back room is arguably one of the best in football as well, even though they don't have maybe one of the top dogs in the NFL. But to have those three together is kind of insane.
Yeah. I like the makeup of this entire offense. I think Caleb is set up to succeed very, very quickly, which I'm glad that that's the case after watching the Justin Fields era come to an end. Yeah. On the defensive side of the ball, they've done a lot of good things on this side too. So Montez Sweat trade last year was a home run of a trade. I questioned it at the beginning. I thought that was a lot of assets to throw at Montez Sweat. He looked like one of a top 5 edge rusher last year, or close to it down the stretch. And I think you can make an argument that he was a top 5 edge rusher down the stretch. Whether he continues that or not is, beyond me. I think he can. And they didn't really do much to add to that room. They drafted Austin Booker on day 3. I think that is, they're raving about Austin Booker. They think that he can be one of the best value picks of the draft. In Chicago, he's performing well. But this defensive line, I still think there are questions here. DeMarcus Walker, Dominique Robinson is apparently jacked up like 15, 20 pounds and looks more like Montez Sweat than he does the thin-framed guy that we've seen over the last couple of years. And then it's just really going to take Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens taking steps forward on the interior. What are your thoughts on this defensive line? Do you think they have enough around Montez Sweat, or do you think that it's Montez Sweat getting doubled every play?
It's probably Montez Sweat getting doubled every play, and I don't even know if that is really a detriment to the other people. I mean, we see what happens with the Browns. They bring in quality edge rushers and Clowney and Smith, and they're still getting single attack because Miles is just so dominant. And Sweat, this went from a bottom 5 defense to obviously 19 points per game, but they're just middle of the pack defense, and it was a massive shift. Basically, the week Sweat got there, he was a complete game changer. He's a complete leader of this defense, and it works really well. I don't know production-wise, like sack production, this will be one of the best defenses. I think pressure-wise it will, and to me, the biggest thing that they're trying to get from these edge rushers, they want the sacks, but they want to have these athletic linebackers in coverage and making plays and flying over the field. And I think they built a good room to do that. They have some big guys in the middle that are going to keep these guys free. And then Sweat is phenomenal in the run. I think Walker's really good in the run. Obviously, if Robinson is beefing up, he's going to be better in that regard. Then Austin Booker, I really like as rotational third down edge rusher, very thin frame. Definitely will have to beef up to be more of a 3-down threat. But for this team, it doesn't have to be. I think they got a phenomenal value. We were talking through the draft process of we know Rome would be incredible, but getting an edge rusher there would be astounding to really retool this entire defense. And I think they kind of got best of both worlds and got an insane value that they drafted after a punter. And honestly, I think they got an insane value at tackle in the draft as well. So completely hit it out of the park. I feel like we're going to talk more about a punter here than we ever will, but from what we've seen from Taylor, it's literally Leckler. It's what we've seen. Yeah. And he was the only punter draft pick that has made sense in the last 2 decades, and I think Taylor is going to end up being the same thing.
My only pushback is you just beefed up the offense and you really went crazy on the offensive side. Why do you don't need the punter anymore? You're going to punt less, but I get it.
Yeah, but
it's a field position thing. You still need the punter, I know. Rest of the defense, so we talked about the linebackers, but the secondary last year, one of the main reasons that this defense turned a corner too, Montez Sweat generating pressure, these corners having insane ball production. Jalen Johnson had two or three more dropped pick sixes, where this could have been a legendary, like insane ball production back half of the year. Tyreek Stevenson was really good in that regard. And then your safety play, I think Jaquan Brisker needs to probably take a step forward. I think we've been excited from the things that we've seen. I think there's also some inconsistency in his game. I think Byard being there helps that. I think Jonathan Owens pushes him a little bit since he has so much experience. So to me, this is one of the better defenses in the NFL. I don't know if that's a homer take, but like this is like a top 10 to 12 unit to me, I think.
I would say it's going to be strange because I feel like they're going kind of what we talked about. I think they're going to be average, in sack production and QB hurries. But I think in everything else, they're going to be astounding. They have, I would argue, with the best three linebackers starting. And, they're going to do a lot of two linebacker sets, but they have three incredible linebackers: Edmonds, Edwards, and Sanborn. And Noah Sewell's shown a couple flashes. And then, like you said, Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, even Jalen Jones. We've seen some flashes there. You have some great corners, and you have Brisker, who is ready at any point to be all over the field. Jonathan Owens can mix in anywhere, and he can help Byard out if needed. But Byard can be a good veteran leadership in the background. This defense should be much improved, and with the improvements to the offense, they should get more games. They should win more.
We're going to talk about that next. So the schedule, not super favorable to start the year. It's kind of like a game that's favorable, a game that isn't, and then kind of rotates all the way through to the bye. But they open against Tennessee, a very winnable game. At Houston's incredibly difficult. CJ Stroud versus Caleb Williams is the popcorn material that we need. And then to follow that up the next week with Caleb Williams versus Anthony Richardson, just some incredible stuff. And then Rams, Panthers, Jaguars is kind of you should at least win one of those. I think you can win two of those. You come out of your bye, though, with three kind of cakewalk games before you get to Green Bay. Minnesota mixes in there. The Detroit matchups were good last year with Justin Fields. I think if you've improved a significant amount, you have the recipe to beat the Lions. Back half of the year is a little more difficult, but this is a 10-win team to me. I have them as the 7th seed. I have them making the playoffs. I have them at 10-7. Randy, break Chicago Bears fans' hearts right now.
Well, I won't, because I have them beating the win line of 8.5.
Fair.
Only by one game, though.
Half a game, really.
Really half a game, yeah. They are tied for the third easiest strength of schedule going into the season. I think when you look at the schedule, when we go to the end of the season, it won't be tied third. It'll be middle of the pack. But they have -110 to make the playoffs, third best odds to win the division, 15th best to win the Super Bowl, which is insane, by the way. And they are favored to win 13 out of 17 games. Obviously, going into the season, those are a bit iffy. But, man, do I have them as the 9th seed and missing the playoffs. I think this is a much improved team, but this NFC is going to be really all packed together, and they're going to have to flip a few of these key games. I mean, I have them beating the Lions, have them beating the Seahawks. I have them winning Week 18 against the Packers. I really wanted to pick Week 11, but the Packers are coming out of a bye for that. It's tough there. I think they could catch the Packers late. Winning the games they're supposed to: Titans, Panthers, Commanders, Cardinals, Patriots, Vikings, 1. I think if they win both the Vikings games, I think they probably make the playoffs. I think that's very doable. But I was the Vikings are still, although they are a reshaped team, I do believe in that coaching staff to be able to get some stuff done. And the bad thing for them is they play the Vikings twice late. JJ McCarthy will be playing by then. They will feel comfortable with him. They will be getting into a rhythm. That's bad. Ideally, they could have played them before the bye week in Week 7. They have no divisional matchups until late. I think that's what's going to kill them.
And it's tough. This is one of the better divisions in football. I have 3 teams making it, with the Bears being the 3rd seed in the NFC North. I also think that there's a chance that they win 11 games or they win 12. Like it really depends on how good Caleb Williams is as a rookie. I think And we'll get into the projections here in a second. But I think if he comes out swinging the way we've seen, like let's say he gets a CJ Stroud like year, I think that's high expectations. But if he provides CJ Stroud like play with the pieces around him and with the improved or at least maintained defense from the second half, I mean, this team has a very, very high ceiling. I also think the floor might be even a little bit lower than what we're giving it credit for. I think there's a chance that you lose to Indianapolis because your defense can't stop Anthony Richardson on the ground. I think there's a chance that you, because I have them beating Jacksonville, I believe. I think there's a chance you lose that game because you let Trevor Lawrence cook you a little bit. So to me, there's a wide range of outcomes here.
The major difference between us is I have them 2-4 going into their bye, and you have them 4-2, and that's all it's going to take right there.
Yep.
I only have them beating the Titans and the Panthers. If they can, I think they could upset the Texans week 2. I think it should be a fun game, but year 2 in the offense, I expect some good things. The Texans only improved, so I expect some good things there. Colts, like you said, they have every chance to upset them. Anthony Richardson was absolutely bona fide electric in the 3 basic games he played after leaving the games for all the other ones. But when he was on the field, he made magic happen. And he did it with his legs, obviously, but he looked pretty good with his arm too. Probably better than we would have hoped early on. So if we can see the development grow even more, they should be a force to be reckoned with. I think their team overall isn't that great, but I think Richardson can get some stuff done. And then the Rams are a horrible just matchup of just a team and a coaching staff that's ready. And then Jacksonville, it's the last generational quarterback versus the current generational quarterback. But again, coaching staff that's there, a team that's prepared, a team that's been together. It's just tough for me to get behind all of them. I think they could, honestly, if they were somehow 6-0, I don't think I'd be like, that's insane. But I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But either way, I have them sneaking into the playoffs, and that's on the back of Caleb Williams becoming the first Chicago Bears passer to reach 4,000 yards. I am projecting that.
Barely.
I know it is barely, but this is like kind of, if I'm being honest, like I think I gave him a modest projection: 28 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 4,000 yards, completing 65% of his balls. Like I think I think he could sit in the range of like 68% completion percent with these wide receivers. It's going to be really hard for him to fail. I think that's the main difference here. But QB 15 numbers, I think the touchdowns could go up or down a little bit. I do have the running backs taking quite a bit of work. I have DeAndre Swift being a little bit lower because the other running backs kind of rotate in. I think Khalil Herbert's going to get a lot of carries still. And then the wide receiver breakdown, I have it exactly as listed: DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, then Rome Odunze. I think Odunze can have a fine year. I think there will be weeks that you can play Rome Odunze in fantasy football. And it's kind of not dissimilar to how they treated Jackson Smith and Jigba in Seattle last year with Shane Waldron coming in. I think that there will be times when we're through one quarter and Rome Odunze has 4 catches for 30 yards. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, is this the week? And then Keenan Allen and DJ Moore get theirs for the remaining 3 quarters, which is something we saw a lot with Jackson Smith and Jigba. So overall, what are your takeaways here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's showing that the Bears should be a balanced attack, and giving respect that you're gonna have 3 running backs touching the ball almost every week, I'd say. And then with Caleb, yeah, I think this is. I was trying to look it up quick. It looks like he's would end up 6th in quarterback passing yards as a rookie overall. Looks like 2nd or 3rd for most touchdowns as a rookie. It's. I don't know if it's conservative by any means, but I think it's probably less than you're going to see a lot of more like clickbaity things where he's going to be, he's a dynasty quarterback 1, but he probably, I would guarantee he's not going to be a quarterback 1 this year. I'd love to think that, obviously he's going to break that 4,000 yard mark and hopefully it's on a passing touchdown to win the game against the Packers. But
That would be
That's
fun.
what you love to see. And maybe that skyrockets you into the playoffs and all that. But QB 15 is perfect. That's what you want from Caleb. You want him to be a top end quarterback too. You want him to make his mark, make his presence. The last 4 weeks of the season, is he going to break the rookie record for passing yards, touchdowns, lowest interceptions? I think the interceptions one, I think 9 is probably safe and fair. We know Caleb is not scared to throw the ball. I think he's going to make mistakes early on, especially the fumbles is where I'd be curious. I'm sure that's why he's not top 12 for you, because
Yes.
we know what Caleb is.
Yep.
And yeah, the wide receivers, don't be shocked. Keno and wide receiver 34. We just did an episode earlier this week. Deontay Johnson was your wide receiver 37, who's a wide receiver one of a team taking over our next role. Keenan Allen's not taking over our next role.
Right.
He's not going to be a wide receiver one of this team. DJ Moore is elite, is electric, is going to get the ball a lot. This should be just a phenomenal team, and this is just a building block. If you can make the playoffs this first year, you're, a lot of
Contenders,
people,
man.
yeah, a lot of people might be shocked. We will be talking about, what same stuff we did first year with Herbert. Man, is this Chargers team about to be a dynasty? It's just what it was. And it's what we're in. And, I live here in Milwaukee. I could tell you it's what they're talking about here. The first year of Jordan Love, that he's God's gift. It's going to be insane if he can do this. And if he's got to take one from Green Bay.
He does. He has to beat Green Bay this year.
I can almost put all my money that he can't take both. Yeah. I just can't see it. But if he could take one, he changes the narrative of the Bears.
Yeah, which I think is much needed. Yeah, we've kind of been in this cycle of Green Bay is big brother. I think that this is a rivalry again. I think that's the exciting part, because we'll get to the Green Bay episode eventually soon. Yeah. But I think Jordan Love could win MVP this year. So while I'm a Bears fan, I also think that this Packers team is really, really good on paper, and you mix in the Lions for the first time in a long time too. So,
and the Vikings on a small reset that they took the time in this reset to pay Justin Jefferson, and they've already paid Hawkinson. This is a rough division. I know we've been talking about since the draft that this is changing the narrative of the Bears, but until it's done on the field, it's never changed. And I don't have them make the playoffs. I have them probably the same seed as they were last year, 9th or 10th. However, it's because of better play in the NFC, hopefully. But they have some big games that they have to hit. And my God, if they could just get some division game, if they could get the Vikings switched early with the Jaguars later, one of those or the Rams, it would be so much better for them.
Yeah. See, I have them sweeping the Vikings this year. Oh, no, I don't. I think losing at Minnesota.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
It is tough. Aaron Jones is on that team, and Aaron Jones kills the Bears. So
yes, he does.
That is a fact. But yeah, I have them making the playoffs. I think the arrow is pointing upward, right? I think that's something that Matt Eberflus likes to say, but the arrow is certainly pointing upward for the Chicago Bears team. It's an exciting time to support the Bears. So Chicago Bears fans, let us know what you think. Are you excited? I know that there's a ton of buzz in the city right now. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on where you think we might be a little wrong. Do you think that this is a 12-win team? Do you think that they're going to the Super Bowl this year? Let us know in the comments. Also, calm down a little bit. Let's be realistic. But thank you guys for watching. We will continue the series next week with a couple more teams. But, if you're a Bears fan watching, subscribe to the channel. We all have Bears takes all the time because, like I said, I support the Bears. So subscribe to the channel. Like this video if you had a good time. And we will talk to you next time. Thanks for watching.